Hello, everyone, and welcome to Answer the Call. Today's episode is Was Star Citizen's 2019 roadmap conservative enough? So, a while back in February, we had I think it was an RTV with Jared and Aaron, and that was about the roadmap and the fact that they were going with a more conservative roadmap on goals that they felt that they can hit. And with patch 3.6, for those of you guys that don't know, it's July 20. It's July 21st right now. And when did it come out? On July 19th, I think. Almost a month late for it to be live, where it should have been live around July 1st. So, given that, I think a lot of people are kind of like, hey, what's going on? You know, you went with a more conservative roadmap and you're still not hitting your goals. Because 3.6 is out, it's live, but it still has its issues. No matter what, anyone that plays Star Citizen and experiences a bug and gets like upset about it, like there's going to be bugs in the game. Even though it's Star Citizen 3.6, it's still Star Citizen Alpha 3.6, right? It's not finished. There always are going to be little problems with the game. But overall, I think the live experience has been a lot better for me than it has been on the PTU. So there is that. But if we look at kind of where we were pre the Aaron interview, with the roadmaps being extremely aggressive, to post Aaron interview, I think we would be relatively happy with kind of where they went with things. And I'm actually going to play this video now for you guys and have you take a listen. I cut out like a little 55-second clip of Aaron. So let's see.
It's like, with this release of the roadmap, I have very much made sure and asked the team that what we put in there is what we can achieve with what we have right now.
Okay. Specifically
with also the fact that people may be pulled onto Squadron, and we know that there's base links work. So this although there's a really good set of stuff in there, my hope is we'll be able to add some stuff to the roadmap. But what I've done this time rather than last time is the last time we said we think we can do this, we had it in the roadmap. This time we put in what we are pretty damn sure we can do.
Okay.
So I'm signing up for this. And then all we're going to do is now, hopefully, if we do build a team and get more people, then what we'll do then is we'll actually be able to add stuff to the roadmap. So for a bit of luck, then towards the end of the year, we'll be able to actually start adding stuff to the roadmap rather than taking it out, which would be great.
So, a nice little feature we added to ATC, so let me know what you think first off. But the thing is these were hopes. And I think a lot of us took this word as absolute gold from Aaron, that there are things on the roadmap that are going to come in, that the things that aren't on the roadmap that are going to come in, and we're going to hit every one of our goals. And it's like, if we take a look at the current roadmap and where we are, let's take a look first at the roadmap in February 9th, 2019, the day that this video came out, and kind of see where it was then and what it is now. So what we had then, obviously we didn't have 3.5 yet, but a lot of the features were being worked on. But let's take a specific look at 3.6 and kind of what left and what came in. Immediately after they put this out, this was the more conservative roadmap. So the things like refineries, combat styles, ComArray RV revisions, those things going out, ping and scanning improvements, physical inventory, and guild systems, those being removed from 3.6, which are in this section right here, as well as repair, ship-to-ship refuel, service beacon improvements, all of the stuff that got pushed out, Glass Cloud Tech. This was them becoming more conservative. So these removals are on the day that they told us they were going to be more conservative, right? So I don't know if you could see it that well. Maybe it would be best to switch to a scene like this for you guys. Let's try this. Is that better? They did have most of the things that we got in 3.6 that were on this list in February of 2019. We did get. So let's take a look at the next slide here. This is July 19th, 2019. And this is what we got in 3.6 and what we have coming in 3.7. So let's ignore 3.7 right now because we're going to go back to the other screen. We got the black market economy. We got hover mode, weapons attachment, free look, player jump, ship degradation, player carryables. Although I don't see us holding the helmet like they show in the picture on the roadmap. We got all the ships and a lot of the technology. The only one that still is in the works is the shield system tech, and I don't really know what's going on with that. Ship rentals and the 890 jump are pushed out to a later patch. So there's that. So now let's go back to February 19th, and let's look at what we were getting in 3.7 versus what we may be getting in it. So there's bounty hunter armor, cargo depot space stations, refueling, healing, close combat, player swim, power system version 2, PvP bounties is a big one, ship to station docking, repair, refuel, rearm, and a few other things. And then now let's head back to the current one. What are we getting? Well, one of the things that got pushed out from 3.6, glass visor HUD improvements. We're getting the interior variants, but we are still getting repair, refuel, restock kiosks. So not necessarily repair and refuel, but kiosks for them. So that's a little bit different. We get the physical inventories that got pushed back. PvP bounties is a big one. Fuel scooping. Procedural asteroids is another one that should be pretty good as far as performance optimizations, and a decent amount of ships. So this is the difference between then and now, and I'm going to kind of leave you to your own opinions on that one, and I'm going to come back to you guys here and say I think the major thing that we're missing here is if we look at 3.8, and we're going to look at 3.8 again, so I'll actually bring up that same image once more here, and we're going to look at 3.8. 3.8 is a big patch as well as 3.9, and 3.8 is really important to understand that if we do get microtech, that means that we're getting server-side OCS and some server meshing because they come hand in hand apparently. And you would have to imagine that the situation that we're in now is very, very similar to the situation that we were in at the end of last year. The last two patches that we had last year, right? Everything was dependent on object container streaming coming in. So the first two patches of the year were kind of meh, and the last two patches of the year were pretty awesome. So given this, 3.7 is not very exciting because they clearly don't expect to have server-side OCS done until Q4 2018, right? So they're working on the new Babbage landing zone. They're working on microtech stuff, right? And mission givers for it. So the planet has some work done, as well as the landing zone having some work done on it. But I think what's happening here is everything's kind of dependent on that tech, and they probably will have a lot of the things that you want to see come in post this tech. So are they being conservative? Yes. And are they hitting most of their goals from what I see based on that roadmap in February to this roadmap in July? I think most of the goals, major features there, are kind of still on the roadmap. So while I'm somewhat critical, I'm also cautiously optimistic that if they reach their server-side OCS goals, that we will see kind of a wealth of features come online after that, because they're probably dependent on it. Will we have a ton of bugs that come along with it? Almost certainly, right? But I do think that we'll start to see drops of content more often. Like, the law system in 3.6 is a cool feature, right? But it's still a very early feature. So I imagine that we'll start to see drops of content, and maybe the people that work on server-side OCS and a lot of the code based people can work on things like getting features in the game. So that's my very long monologue for this, but I thought it was very important to do a long monologue. And I'm going to bring in the first caller, Starsicle. Hey, Star, can you hear me, bud? I think you might have a problem hearing me.
Hello. Thank you for having me on.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, he can hear me now. So, welcome, Star. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I think you made a good observation there with the build up to the kind of end of the year goals. We kind of get into that middle of the year. Oh God, what's going on? I see the 3.8 end of the year arc this year as the AI arc. We're trying to build up the foundational systems so that way we can get more game systems and AI arc into the game. We want an AI to be able to spawn, get in a ship, take off, find you, kick your ass, and maybe land if it requires it. That's how I see the arc, and this is kind of all going to that. But to answer,
like fly, get in a mining ship, mine, and you kick their ass, or fly, get in a cargo ship, run cargo, affect the economy slightly, and you kick their ass, and you can affect the economy even more, right?
All the Tone Easy stuff, the Tone Easy. So to answer the thing, like, is it conservative enough? I would say the quick answer is no. It's pretty clear that from the perspective of 3.1 when they started around when they started this quarterly release schedule to 3.6 where we are now, the journey has been mostly consistent. Like we go 3 months, you can just be like, okay, this is the date, 3 months, and then something happens. We get a PTU phase. It goes on for 1 to 4 weeks, and we start the cycle again.
Yeah,
we're kind of at the point now where we're like, it's been 4 weeks. We're not okay. So what's the deal here? It's indicative that maybe their ability to quickly take in and turn in over changes during PTU is slacking, or maybe they don't have the means of preventing that situation to begin with. And my only response to that is I hate the issue council. I hate it.
Why?
But there's also the issue here in the back, which is there's 101 open positions at SIG right now.
Yeah. That's another thing. That's pretty wild. I didn't know there was 101. But why do you hate the issue council?
The issue council is not what I would consider to be a good issue tracker or a bug tracker. It's hard to navigate. It's hard to contribute to.
Yeah, it is hard to contribute to.
Not janitored. And I kind of don't want to go on a whole rant about the IC. I think that could be a whole other ATC.
Okay.
But there's 101 open positions at SIG. Most of those are in Wilmslow and Frankfurt. And we're pretty familiar with what they do by now. So this includes engineers, programmers, and system designers, the exact people we really wish they'd get. So they know they aren't going fast enough, and they're looking for people. And I'd say if people think they're really so smart, they can put up or shut up and apply. But there you go.
Yeah, that's a good point as well, right? A lot of people are armchair devs. I've been one for sure. But in the end, it's actually having the skill to be able to do it, right? But yeah, I mean, I think the thing is I feel like they've hit a lot of the goals on the... Now, specifically, the most important factor here is you went from 3.1, but I think we have to start with what came in 3.5.
Oh, no, I agree.
And
I think
from
there's
there,
2 perspectives. The 3.5 to 3.6 is the rough one.
They admitted their mistakes, but the thing is they admitted their mistakes between 3.1 and 3.4 and said that their roadmap was entirely too aggressive, and they were assuming that they were going to be able to hire people to make these features, and they weren't. So now they do the roadmap based off who they have in the studio now, and the things that are not on the roadmap that may come in are based off of we will be able to hire these teams and bring them in and create more content. For example, every patch we see some Star Marine additions, don't we? And maybe an Arena Commander fix or two or change. So we know that they've kind of created that team.
I think in this case, what they may want to do is, I mean, the roadmap's not a schedule. They try to make it clear to us, but it doesn't really sink in. So I'd say they should just cut more things and keep doing whatever the best that they can, and they'll just surprise us more.
I really think this patch, they felt that if the law system and voice over IP, face over IP wasn't in, that the patch would have been so boring and not exciting that they wasted time getting it in. instead of pushing it to the next patch. But if you look at the numbers on Twitch and on YouTube, people aren't searching or care because the patch wasn't exciting anyway, so they should have just waited. But I think that was a conversation for last ATC. But yeah, so I don't know. Do you have anything else to add before I bring in the next call?
No, I just say your mileage may vary on what someone would consider exciting. I was looking forward to the Lost system, but as it dropped, I began to realize it's probably more exciting as a system for outlaws than for Care Bears like me that just kind of want to collect rocks and pick flowers. But I didn't expect it to be good when it first came out, and that's what happened. So
Yeah.
That's all I have. Thank you for having me on.
Hey, no problem, buddy. All right, so we have another call, and it is Tiz. So just let me get him ready, because I was checking Twitter. I didn't see any ATC Twitter updates yet. So we'll bring Tiz on. Welcome, Tiz. And Tiz, before I bring you on, if anybody else does want to join the call, Tiz is the last caller in the group right now. So if anybody wants to pop in or tweet at hashtag ATC17, we'll get you on the show that way. So Tiz, welcome. How you doing?
Hey man, thanks for having me on.
Of course. Are you okay? You sound sad.
No. I'm just a bit tired.
Okay.
It's Sunday, it's the weekend.
Yes.
I'm allowed to.
Of course.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Do you think they were conservative enough, or do you think that they were pulling our chain a little bit? What are your thoughts?
Ooh, I think they are more conservative now. And I think they need to be commended for that. I still think that when Aaron came on at the end of the year, that was mostly a PR stunt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also the like choosing Aaron and not Chris, and I think that wasn't really.
Well, I think they chose Aaron because that's Aaron's actual job here. His job, like Chris is the crazy visionary, and Aaron is the guy who takes Chris's vision and says, this is how long it's going to take to do it. You do this, you do that, you do this, you do that. He's kind of the bulldog while Chris is, out, picking flowers and daydreaming, I guess, which is where we want Chris.
Yeah, but that's just not a way of saying that nobody would have believed anything Chris said about being more conservative.
Agreed. I think we would take Chris's words with a grain of salt, where we take Aaron's with more solid. Like when he said what he said, I believed him.
Mm.
And I think me personally, I think he's lived up to the expectations. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the problem I have with the roadmap is not that it's not so like technically. If you look at it, then yes, they have been more conservative, and okay, I even don't care if they're 2 weeks late on a patch. I'd rather them being 2 weeks late than just rushing it out. But that's not discussion. The problem I'm having with the roadmap right now is that I don't really know what I should think of the roadmap, because we obviously know that a lot of, or hope at least, that a lot of the stuff CIG is working on isn't actually represented in the roadmap.
Yeah.
Even stuff that they hope that they can maybe integrate at the start of the next year, or maybe, optimistically at the end of this year.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure what use the roadmap has for me anymore.
That's fine.
Also with them putting stuff on the roadmap that when it releases, like the law system or black market economy, isn't really useful or is so fucking tier 0. I know that's hard programming and everything, but if that's the law system that they have, that like Tony C has wasted his whiteboard on for 3 years now, then
It's not though. It's what they can do with it now, and you don't think it's a good start? It's got a large group of laws, different severities of laws. It also brings in smuggling into the fold. Like I think people look at the law system and haven't done enough like jumping in the game, looking at your journal and actually reading everything that's there. when you take someone else's ship now, you get a criminal rating for it, right? When you ram someone's ship on a pad, there's also those things. Like it's starting to tie things together, and the whole point is this is the start, and then the next patch they talked about PvP bounties, right? And then after that, you start engaging more with the AI. Like Starcicle's last call was like, it's very clear that the end of the year they hope to have a lot of the AI work completed that they were trying to do throughout the entire year, but just couldn't get done for whatever reason. And I don't know. I just like Astro said something in chat, and we're gonna bring him on for the next caller. Like people really looked at what Aaron said back then and thought that he said things solidly, and this is what it is. And I think if you looked at the roadmap, they hit a lot of their goals, and I think that there's still those goals on the roadmap for this year, and I think that they're just dependent on things like server-side OCS and maybe other tech to finish. And like for you, you're a little upset with the tier 0 version of things that came in. But what do you think after like the explanation that I just gave you about it? Do you still feel that way? And what would you have liked to see? And isn't it, and one last question for you, isn't it better to have the tiny version of it that they have now and gradually build off of it, or drop it in completely, have it change everything, likely be completely out of balance, and then have to do that additional work anyway? I don't know.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the only thing I'm saying is that if that's what they've been waiting for to release, I don't really see why. Just
like
now.
Why they held this patch up in particular?
Yeah.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
And the other thing is, like, I agree that they are dependent on that server-side OCS, and I think the main argument that you can make for CIG is that everything is so dependent on this, and they are so or that their hands are so tight behind their backs because of server-side OCS that that's going to be the Jesus moment. And I'm just a bit skeptical, although, I mean, to be fair, with the normal OCS, we already saw that was really something that made a major difference, right?
Of course.
So,
yeah. Absolutely.
And that's the only thing. And the other thing is that I would just like, maybe as a last option, because we don't even need to talk about the squadron roadmap because that's a really a shit show. But about the PU roadmap, I would like to have like some little box or some section where they mention stuff that maybe doesn't have a date, but that we see that they are working on this and they have people committed to this.
Oh man, I don't disagree with you on that, but I do. Look at it this way. If they had a little box and said, here is what we're reaching for, and when they don't get it, what's going to happen? Right? So let's say they're reaching for something crazy like, I don't know, large-scale ship battles or something like crazy, like something crazy, right? But let's say they have that on the list, and that's something that's a reach for 2019 or a reach for 2020, and they don't hit that goal. People are going to get upset. Isn't it just better from their perspective to say nothing at all, and when they actually know that they've kind of resolved a few issues with it, and it's going to happen, and that it's going to happen around this time frame, then put it in? That's the whole point of the roadmap, right? Is to stop us from freaking out the way we are. Every fucking patch, we freak out all the time. And it's not good. It's not healthy for us. It's not good for them. And I think, and I think a lot of the time, here's one of the things for the roadmap feature that I'd like to see is what I did with today's show, is to show you what the roadmap was in February 9th, 2019, and what the roadmap is in July 24th, 21st, 2019, because it didn't change that much, and in people's minds, it changed like boom, their head exploded, everything died, this game is over, and like when I look at what I got in 3.6 versus what was on the roadmap way back then, we got almost all of it. What is still on the 3.7 roadmap is still all there for the most part. Like, I don't get the freak out.
I thought that was a really cool thing he did at the beginning, because I mean, it really showed that they didn't push much. I think it was just a mixture of expecting too much from the items that they scheduled, and maybe it's just the period to get acclimatized to the new roadmap and to the new expectations and to the speed. Like,
yeah.
Instead of hoping that they accomplish those amazing things, then be upset about it for half a week when they don't, and then like feverishly looking forward to the next thing they promised, and now you have a constant speed, and of course it's too slow because everybody wants the game, and it's creeping, and yeah.
So I think everyone's got to like calm down a little bit, and we all know that it's the wait for server-side OCS. If you want to get mad then, I'm cool with it. But if we've learned anything from them, that when they're pushing for a major tech feature, usually everything kind of is boring in the game until then, right? So, like, with OCS last year, the game was terrible before it. It came in, and it was pretty damn fun for a while. But then, obviously all the features aren't connected and on, so we get bored, and then we go play other games, hopefully, or we sit here and get upset about the game, which we hopefully don't continue to do. And then, then the new tech comes in, and we get excited for a little while. But for right now, people are going to be upset because this is that boring stage because we're waiting for another tech milestone. And it sucks, but it's reality, I think.
But to be fair, last year we at least had some indication of what they were shooting for. Now we just know that, or we think we know that they don't want to release microtech without server-side OCS, but it's not fixed on the roadmap, and we just assume that they're going for end of year.
Well, it's on the roadmap. Do you mean it's not fixed on the roadmap because it could move? I mean, everything could always move.
Is server-side OCS on the roadmap?
Server-side OCS isn't on the roadmap, but if microtech is on the roadmap,
that's what. Yeah,
then server-side OCS is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure. Okay.
Because we know that the two go hand in hand. So I don't know, man. I'm just putting my hands up, and I'm willing to wait and enjoy what's there for now, for as long as until I get bored, right?
Yeah, it's better, but it's more depressive. That's like that.
Yeah. All right, Tiz. I'll let you go, and we'll bring on the next call.
Yeah, see ya.
As always, thanks for calling in. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Mike.
Bye now. I think before the next call, I do believe we have a tweet, so I'm going to bring that up, see if it pops up here. We do. We have one from Winlord. So let's bring that one in. There it is. So he says, SaltEMike, many of the parts have been started for future patches, Horizon's dev, for 3.9, for example. I think since the roadmap came, the video content has not been surprising, and we ultimately have lost out just because we complained to see future laid out before us. I agree. I think the roadmap is like the worst friggin' thing ever. I can't stand the roadmap because basically it spoils everything for us. So we know what's coming, where things are going, and if we're not getting something or if we are, right? So for this patch in particular, nobody was excited for it because nothing in the roadmap looked exciting. And honestly, for most of the year, not much of the roadmap looks exciting. And what that does is that takes the hype away from them. And their hype is everything for Star Citizen. It's how they make their ship sales, it's how they continue the development of the game, so on and so forth. And it actually hurts hype. So for this patch in particular, that's why not too many people are excited for it. I'm excited, as well as AZK53 in chat. He was sad that he said he's excited for the patch. I am too. I actually quite enjoy it. It's a lot of fixes for economy style things that I enjoy. But yeah, so let's bring on Astropub here, who is our, I think probably going to be our final call for the day. We'll see if we can sneak anybody else in. after him, but we will bring him on right now. Oop, wrong one. There we go. Astro, what's up, man?
Hey.
So how you doing? So you
Doing
feel very strongly about something.
Okay. So let
Bring
me
it.
explain something. So the detail, my thought and my take on the roadmap is that CIG is very aggressive with the roadmap.
Yes.
And I feel like everything up to about the original 3.7 idea is totally achievable this year. But 3.7 to 3.8 is the area where you're going to start seeing stuff drop off. And I feel like a lot of the assurances that Aaron made, like, oh, this is the super conservative one, this is because we're going to pretty much be able to make this. I feel like that was more of calm the crazy masses, because
at the time we were freaking out.
We're freaking out, yeah, because it looked like it was nothing, like, oh, this is going to be the nothing year where everything's going to be boring. And it was him trying to say, like, but at least we can get all these done, even though CIG being aggressive, it's pretty obvious to take a look at with a good critical eye at 3.8 and say 3.7, 3.8 and be like, do we really believe that everything's going to be here? And that's one of those things that I don't like. I kind of disagree with you on the whole like roadmap thing. I like the roadmap only because it mitigates expectations. So you don't have people coming in being like, "Oh, I took a week off of work because when 3.7 comes in at the end of September." Yeah, it helps prevent the unnecessary drama that just kind of shows up in the community. Or at least it will, like, if something shifts, it happened, people go, oh, that sucks, and they'll like get angry about it for a couple days, and then they forget about it.
Yeah.
So it's caused the what before was this massive spiking roller coaster of ups and downs to be more like leveled out. So yeah, it's leveled out the hype, but it's also it made it easier.
Which was the point of the roadmap. It was to level out the hate.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, I get where you're coming from, but maybe my take is just I'm a little bit, for whatever reason, and I'm usually not, a little bit more optimistic about this year with what I'm hoping and what I hope they would do is that their feature teams would be working on features that still require the tech to come online. And that's like the 3.8 stuff, right? Like all the 3.8 stuff requires technology or requires other dependencies, it seems like. And that's where things are going to start dropping off, is if they don't complete those things. But when I looked at, like, we've had patch notes or patches on the roadmap before that are just like 3.8, and us as content creators, or us as backers, I should say, all looked at it and go, that's impossible. And we were right every time. And this one seems that way too. So I can see where you're coming from. But with server-side OCS and the fact that the servers have been hammered and at low FPS ever since we started in the PU from day one, this should finally mitigate that somewhat. Is that going to help with AI? Is that going to help with adding other gameplay elements into the game? Is that going to help with voice over IP? Is that going to help with all these other things? Is that going to help them tying things together? And is 3.8 the start of that? For whatever reason, my normal salty freak out self is like totally optimistic about it. I don't know why, but for once, I guess I'm being optimistic, and I that's why I don't feel like Aaron was being
I think he was being,
any other way than what he thought at the time.
Yeah, I think he was. I do honestly think that CIG believes they can hit these road marks. And they wouldn't do it if they didn't think they would. But that's also one of the downsides of the roadmap, is that a lot of times CIG will put things on the roadmap and then go, "That's a great idea," and then they'll get to it. They'll actually get to making it, and someone goes,
this doesn't work, does this.
This isn't going to work. Yeah, we need to break this up into 4 different parts and release it separately, and so on and so forth. And as a result, like, we see, it's easy for us to sit there and go, look at something like 3.8 and go, yeah, that's not going to make it in because of past experiences. And I think that's an important thing for the community to keep a weather eye open for these kinds of like of CIG's optimism. Sometimes it's just to check your own.
It bites them in the ass sometimes. Yeah, it definitely bites them in the ass.
But at the same time, I don't think there was malice necessarily. I think that it was mostly an attempt to calm the freaking masses. But I think that also is you can only do something like that so long because as we're seeing with AI and with the shift towards Squadron 42, it just takes time for some things. Like you, I'm optimistic about most of the future. I don't think 3.8 is going to come in. Most of the stuff in 3.8 is going to come in, but I still think that most of that stuff will come in 3.9 or 3.10 or 3 or whatever is down the line. 100%, I think it's going to happen sooner rather than later. I just don't think the dates themselves are super accurate.
I mean, what's really in 3.8 anyway? So I have it up. I'll bring it up on the screen for people while we continue to talk, and then maybe if you could see it as well.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Okay. Like obviously Microtech and the planetary stuff, they're pretty decent at that. So the major like interesting different thing is like the dynamic mission system. And ship-to-ship docking and ship-to-station docking. Other than that, what major, like, difficult thing do you see on there? I mean, there's salvage as well.
3.8 salvage, yeah.
But NPC salvage, healing, they always said was going to be some, like, crappy version of it, basically. But close combat, that's, like, regular FPS mechanics. Like, you should be able to do that shit.
It has to do with animation. You have to, it's an animation thing. It's also a response thing. Like if your character is there and has got their fists up and stuff like that, and they punch something, that's more than it seems simple, but in reality, it's like a lot of different things have to work together. It's stuff that's worked before, but we're not talking about like melee. We're talking about like a way to not only use your fists in combat, but also use it in a way that isn't relegated. It's not regulated. It's going to have to be included into the law system as a different type of like you know, punching somebody in the face in the bar is different from shooting somebody in the face of the bar. You know, those kind of things are going to be important to relegate. It also will impact the healing gameplay that they have to do because we've got medical gameplay, which is a whole new overhaul of how the health system is going to be working. So there's a lot of, and then there's salvage, which is going to take a lot of time and effort. If you think about like the version 1 of mining, I expect version 1 of mining to be the salvage to be up to par with version 1 of salvage. Plus the HUD.
Can I stop you there? Because like I want to go all the way back to close combat again. Because like
let's do it.
You got
takedown mechanics.
Takedown mechanics, which is pressing a button, right? Like the way you're like obviously the animation side of things we've seen has been complicated. But the way you described it was like, we're going to be, to me, the way you described it was it's going to be this whole complicated system. But we all know that this is going to be the tier 0 version of it, and you're literally going to press a button, and animation's going to play, and somebody's going to get knocked down.
What I'm describing, though, isn't the actual just, all of that stuff that I said is stuff that is implemented in the back end, or is being implemented, is the steps it's going to take for it to be implemented. Those people working on the FPS close combat can't work on other animation issues or other animation bugs or so on and so forth. And it's also related to the health gameplay, which also has to be taken into account with like the different types of how health works. Even at tier 0, this stuff is going to get complicated. And CIG only, you know, they have 500 employees, but they only have so many people working on specific things.
Yeah.
So it's in a lot of this may not seem complicated, but you know, you get into the weeds, you get into the details. It can get complicated quickly when you're having to deal with, you know, with the dynamic mission system, the mag boots, 0G movement, which is also animations, is both animation things, you know, probably heavily, as well as physics and other things. A security system so that you're adding you know, adding stuff to the law system, as well as controlling areas. It says the security system controls access to areas with objects based on various factors such as reputation, ownership, key cards, and faction. So while a lot of that seems simple to us, a lot of that is going to also conflict. It's going to take manpower away from other parts they're going to kick main firepower away from each other. So generally speaking, it doesn't seem like a huge issue, but I think that a lot of that stuff will probably get sacrificed in the cause of one or different things. Because on top of that, we're not just talking about making the things, they have to test it. They have to send it to QA, and then QA has to approve of it, and they have to go track down the bugs, and all of these are going to create bugs on themselves. So, and of course, CIG QA is something like, 30, 40 people. They may have more, may have less than that, but it's a finite resource. And they're also, there's also people in Squadron 42 QA who are working on who work on Squadron 42 and then may get shuffled back and forth depending on needs and at times. So, and this is also right after CitizenCon. So you got to remember all the stuff that's going to be going into CitizenCon also has to go into, then they have to do it into 3.8.
Do you,
even though it's,
that's a whole nother factor that I meant to bring up and I didn't.
Yeah.
We all know, if you look at the roadmap, what is CitizenCon going to be? What do you think it's going to be?
It's going to be 3.8 and 3.9.
No shit.
It's going to be definitely 3.
So they're going to be showing 3.8 stuff during 3.7 development. So they're going to be heavily working on 3.8. 3.7 is going to probably suck. And 3.8 is going to be, like, they're going to show a lot of things from 3.8 and show it at CitizenCon and then drop it at the end of the year. And here you go. Here's a big drop of all this interesting content.
But that brings in other questions. For instance, if 3.7 gets sacrificed for CitizenCon and 3.8, what elements of 3.7 go into 3.8, and then what elements of 3.8 gets pushed to 3.9?
There really aren't any major elements in 3.7 other than like
7 AI entries.
Well, no, I'm talking about gameplay stuff. Like, where are the AI entries in 3.8?
There's 2, right? But
okay,
the likelihood of them getting shifted around for that as well.
There you go.
But in gameplay, you're dealing with, a new power system, PvP bounties, repair, fuel, restock.
But you're just reading down the things. Like there's major features that if they move out, people will freak out, and then there's minor features that if they move out, people will not. So like for 3.6. Why was it late? Mm-hmm. Because if they moved out the law system to the other patch, and if they moved out voice over IP, people would have lost their shit. So they put it late. So what in 3.7 absolutely has to come in? Probably physical inventories, probably bounty PvP, and probably refueling.
Is physical inventories part of 7?
Yes.
3.7?
Yeah, it is.
Looking at the wrong thing.
So.
Oh yeah.
Like those things have to come in. Anything else doesn't matter. What needs to come into 3.8? Server-side OCS, Microtech,
and Macrotech. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm if they push salvage out, it's happened 300 times already. Nobody cares at this point. And probably the dynamic mission system. And then AI entries in either 3.7 or 3.8. Like
that's true, but they've also said things like physical, like physical inventories is connected to things like persistence, and persistence comes in with server-side OCS. So persistence
is constantly getting better every
it is
major release.
It's getting
so
fantastic.
That's like a thing that is going to grow over time. I don't think it just comes with one thing or another. I think everything is tied slightly to it, but it's gradually getting better, right?
And I think you could have server-side OCS, implemented as early as, if it's not already partially implemented, it could be or as early as implemented as 3.7 as well.
Yeah.
What's important to take away is that CIG has certain things they need to hit, and everything else is just gravy. It's just stuff that they can do while they're waiting, like teams can do while they're waiting for other things to free up so they can do it. And you basically spell that out. Most of it is just physical inventories and service and Microtech. The 2 big things they need to get at the end.
The other stuff is while it's important in the grand scheme of things, it's arbitrary in the short term.
Yeah.
So that's what's important.
So, but a lot of that stuff may get moved out and may get shifted around, which is important to take into account. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people will look at this not as a what was important to make it in, but CIG said this and delivered this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, and it's difficult to say it right now because we're in July, and even if you look at last year, most of the stuff that they wanted for 3.1 and 3.2, most of that made it in. It was that when you got into the 3.3, 3.3.5, 3.4, that's when things started getting pushed further and further back.
Which is when they realized they needed server-side OCS.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So that's why, for me, I think everybody needs to calm down a little bit and look back at what Aaron said. He actually made no promises and said we hope to do these things. I played the video at the beginning so you can hear it for yourselves. They don't make promises, right? And then the other part of it was all eyes are on 3.8 because it seems very clear to me as just a regular pleb that server-side OCS is very important to start bringing more things in. So all eyes are on that. If it gets in and it's nice and it's smooth, and we saw in the monthly report that they did the initial testing of it. We don't know how well it went or whatever, but we just have to wait and see. So I think let's calm down on the fact that, you know, this patch was late. I don't like that this patch was late. I really think that they should have just had this patch be empty and finish the features off in 3.7.
Yeah. And let me
kind of
also
live
say
up to
that,
those expectations are something they have not lived up to.
No, and I think that
as if it doesn't make it, we push it. They didn't push it.
Yeah, and I think that's my biggest concern is not necessarily that things get moved around. It's that I feel like I don't want CIG to burn out. I don't want CIG members and I don't want employees to get burned out because they have to work on 3.6, 3.6.1, then 3.7, then 3.7.1, then 3.8, then 3.8.1, and then like having a dedicated, instead of having, you know, a 3-month rotation, really having more like a month and a half rotation with all of your patches, and that's going to be just grinding hard on these employees. Mm-hmm. And I'd rather them just you know, and this is probably gonna be unpopular, but things like the 890 and rentals, just go to 3.7.
Yeah,
it's not that much different.
Why do we need a 3.6.1? Who cares?
Yeah.
Like,
I'd rather have them
like
in
you've
3.7
waited for the
when they have
890
more
jump.
Stability,
You waited for the 890 jump for how long? Like, just let it go. And the thing that bothers me, even with the rentals, is you just put in all the ships for purchase. Let's give us a chance to try and earn them and see how the economy works without rentals, and then bring rentals in to balance it out. Now you're just going to bring both things and have to balance them both at the same time. But whatever. But all right, Astro, we are running low on time today. I'm sorry to cut you off. I normally wouldn't do this, but
it's all right.
I know you know, but if other people that are watching didn't know, I got engaged last week, and I got engaged.
By the way,
thank you. I got engaged in New Jersey, and my family lives in New Jersey, but my fiance's family lives here. So we celebrated in New Jersey, and today's the day that we celebrate with her family. So I have to cut everything a little bit shorter, even though I'd like to go much longer. So, Astro, thank you for calling. For those of you guys that don't know, twitch.tv/theastropub. Same on YouTube. Awesome streamer, awesome YouTuber. Love him. Good friend of mine. So show him some support. All right. Thanks for calling in, buddy. And I should be on your show soon. Not this week, unfortunately, but we'll figure it out. So, later, dude.
Later, man.
Bye. So that is it for today's show, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments, and I've been watching your thoughts on Twitch chat. So, I don't know. I'm, even after your calls, I still feel relatively confident about 3.8. Although Astro kind of makes some pretty good points about 3.8 and how it is really kind of busy. So 12 gameplay entries, right? 6 location entries. There's a lot of stuff coming in, and we all know that when things come in, things break. Ship-to-ship docking, ship-to-station docking. Those are all really exciting things. So the roadmap being really conservative up to 3.8 kind of defines where they're at, I think. So where it's the wait for server-side OCS. So cross your fingers, chat, but be patient. Server-side OCS is hopefully going to be the answer to where they can start bringing content into the game. And I hope that starts with 3.8 and 3.9, but we'll have to see. So I think it's just not time to freak out yet. But in 3.8 and 3.9, if it's still the same old song and dance, and then there's another tech carrot to hold in front of us that we have to chase again, then I can totally agree with anybody who's starting to get upset. But for now, I think it's a safe time to just be safe and cautiously optimistic and see what happens. All right. So everybody have a wonderful afternoon. and I will see you guys next time. And thank you for watching.